minutes from the Asheville airport.
Oh, wow.
I'm conveniently located near vineyards.
Wow.
Yes. It's beautiful where Holly is.
Very green, I'm sure.
It is very green. Hi, everyone who has joined us. If you can hear us, please say hello in the chat and tell us where you're coming from or joining from.
Yeah, you may have heard I'm conveniently located in Asheville, North Carolina, near some vineyards. Not that I ever go.
Hi, Paul, you're in Chattanooga?
Oh, that's not too far.
No.
From either of us, Leah.
No, but I'm wondering. Hi, Haraletta. Yes.
Hey, Haraletta.
Welcome.
Also, let us know why you joined. What is it that you want to know about today? And we will absolutely try to weave that into the content.
Yes. So, Paul, did I completely misunderstand where you lived? I thought you lived in Atlanta. Driving all the way from Chattanooga to meet me in Atlanta. Thank you, Haraletta, for coming to support us. So nice. So, Holly, obviously you two know each other. What a small world this is.
This is a very small world. I think we all know each other. Or know of each other if we haven't actually met. Hey, Della. Hope you're staying dry and that things are better for you.
Welcome, everyone. This is good to see. I'm glad everybody is chatting and sharing. Wow, okay, every other week. It's a lot of traveling, I see. So I just automatically assumed you lived here. All right, we're gonna wait one more minute, let everybody come in, and then we're gonna kick off. Please tell us where you're all joining us from and a little bit about what made you join us today. What do you want to learn about? All right, so it's 2:02. I think we're going to start things. So welcome everybody to our webinar series. This is the second one that we've done so far for the summer series that we're doing. Today, we're evaluating benefits administration system vendors. We're going to walk you through what that looks like, how to succeed as you're doing that. And I'm really excited because I'm joined by a couple of great colleagues. So I'm going to introduce myself and then introduce my guest speaker. We have a surprise speaker who you can already see. So you may know him. But so for those who don't know me, I'm Leah Joyner. I have an actuarial background. I started my career doing pension plan valuations, and then I moved over to designing medical plans, helping our clients at the time with budgeting for their health insurance, claims analysis. And then the last 12 years of my career, I have been concentrating more on the technology side of things. I worked at a company called LifeWorks, now TELUS Health, that really changed my thinking when it comes to technology and what I wanted to do in the future. So while I was there, configuring systems, advising clients, I realized that there was a gap in the space for really being a client advocate. So helping clients during the purchasing process, helping them understand what they are purchasing, how to, you know, understand what to look for, write down their requirements, etc. And so I knew this is what I wanted to do, and that's how HCM Tech Advisory was formed. So that's a little bit about myself, and I would love to introduce my colleague and dear friend, Holly. Holly is a consultant, technology consultant at USI Insurance Services, which is a brokerage company, benefits brokerage company. And I'm excited because Holly not only is doing consulting in systems today, she also brings a wealth of knowledge and has done this from a vendor perspective. So it'll be really cool to hear her side as we're talking about systems today. So Holly, do you want to say a little bit about you?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the intro. Yes, I've been in the consulting side of the business for over 6 years, having worked at USI as well as other consulting firms. And as you mentioned, Leah, I come from a vendor background, so a lot of the vendors that you probably recognize, ADP, formerly Ceridian, now Dayforce. I also on the Ben admin side worked at Benefit Focus and Empyrean. I also have a little bit of a different lens than some of the other consultants that you may work with or know of, in that I worked at Gartner at one time. So my background is a little bit different than some of the consultants, definitely from the vendor side, some of the insurance side, and the analyst side has really come in handy. So I know you're anxious to introduce our surprise guest today, Leah.
Yeah. So our surprise guest today is somebody that I really admire in the industry. He's also a mentor to me, and obviously his name is Larry McAlister. Larry has been a 3 times CHRO, has worked for Fortune 500 companies, and we were just talking about a book that he just released last year. It's called The Power to Transform. I've started reading the book, and what I love about Larry's book is just how raw Larry is, and he doesn't shy in sharing what he believes in, and he believes in technology transformations, but putting the human in the middle of it all. So I'm going to let Larry tell you a little bit about himself. Larry?
Yes, thank you, Leah. Hi, everyone. Surprise, it's me. For the past 10 years, I really ran talent transformation for 2 Fortune 500 companies, which means changing the way that HR is viewed inside a company. That's why I wrote the book, Change the Way HR is Viewed in the World. We're not order takers, right? We're not order takers. We are trying to make life better for employees through the best thinking and the best technology. So I was consulting and pimping the book for 2 years, and this job came up that's on LinkedIn of all things that said head of digital transformation. My jaw dropped. So in April, I was like, this is the job for me. I pinged the CHRO and said, is this job for real? She said, this job is real. And then 2 weeks later, I started. So it's like an amazing karma moment. So I'm looking at the entire HR tech stack, including benefits and well-being in here, and figuring out the best way to move forward in this age of generative AI. Back to you, Leah.
Awesome. So next screen, please. So we're going to test your benefits IQ. Okay. So when I think of a benefits admin system and it working, I think of people, processes, and technology. So are your processes streamlined for efficiency? How effective is your communication strategy? And is your technology aligning with your organizational goals? So what's the primary reason, if you are considering to change your benefits admin, what's the reason for that? So we have a little test here for you guys. So if you can just scan this and let us know what is the reason why you would want to change your benefits admin system.
You can just take a picture of the QR code, or you can, log into Slido and quickly participate in the poll. So I really want to see what you guys. Oh, people are already on it. Love it.
Employee experience. Larry, I bet this is not surprising to you. Neither you,
I'm
Holly.
surprised that I'm excited that this is the #1 thing.
I am too. I'm really excited to hear that, because I was so afraid it was going to be support. Although that's right up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a little bit of everything, but it's nice that employee experience is even in the mix,
Yeah,
absolutely.
awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Well, the fact that you're looking, just rest assured you are not alone. Last year in the Sapient survey, when we were at HR Tech, 100% of people surveyed. I mean, when have you ever heard of a survey where the answer was 100%? 100% were looking to make changes to their Ben admin and their HR Tech because there were so many things that were happening. So let's just move to our next section and find out what is driving this change in Ben admin. What are the trends behind that? There's really, if you look at that, what's driving this change, it falls into 3 buckets. It's people change, right? So there's a lot of change just with the people part of it. The technology itself, the Ben admin technology is changing. And then there's a lot of dynamics and just general movement in the vendor space. And we're going to dig into each of those. So look at these, let's just take a look at this statistic. More than half of HR IT professionals have less than 3 years experience. That's huge. It doesn't mean they're not smart, right? It doesn't mean that these aren't sharp people that are working in this space, but they are unfamiliar. The previous year, it was 10 years or less of experience. That is a huge gap. There's a lot of tribal knowledge and experience that's just gone. These folks have never been through an evaluation process and implementation. Think about that. If you've been through it, you know what that means, right? They have limited or no experience with annual enrollment and year end. It's we call it our Super Bowl. Not quite as fun as a Super Bowl party, right? We would love that, but it's not. Recently, Sherm, I know, right? We like to think it's Super Bowl, but it's not. It's important as a Super Bowl, but it is not nearly as fun. A lot of injuries, though. A lot of people on the DL list, no doubt, but not so fun. So there's limited experience. And SHRM, actually, their poll said that it's 2 years or less experience now. So it is not, this is a trend that is not in our favor. So we have a lot of education, those of us have been around to help. And the reason for this change is many, the pandemic, there's a lot of gig workers. And if people weren't included in that evaluation process, they make the assumption that the technology just doesn't work, or that the organization has outgrown it and the technology simply won't scale, which may or may not be true. And there's the other trends are that the technology is changing, right? And the benefits administration is changing. We have so many more things at our our fingertips, and that we're all keying into that we didn't have, that we have to think about. Traditionally, benefits was medical, dental, and vision, right? And then your 401k. Those were your things that you were worried about. Now you've got financial wellness tools. I mean, you've got people that have that are not only trying to think about their retirement, but they also are paying off their college debt. You've got chatbots and AI, and how are you going to use that to communicate these things? Now we have reproductive health support, right? We've got all kinds of things. You've got also your, adoptive services. You've got all these things that you're trying to balance as HR professionals. You've got global demand. You've got people, you've got expats working in other countries. You've got in-country nationals, and how are you helping them? And weighing all these things that may be state funded, and by state, I mean country. So all these things are happening. And yes, the decision support tools are becoming more and more sophisticated. And you've got all these educational things. So where do you focus? And Larry, I think you have some ideas that you'd like to share.
So I want everyone on this call to feel that they are a technologist. We are living in the age of generative AI, which is going to have a faster and more profound impact on us and society since like the advent of fire. Every job, every student in the developed world will be doing things differently in 3 years. And it's scary, right? Legal is very worried about it, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't stay on top of it. It's very important to educate yourself. Generative AI is the first time in history that the average person can co-create with a machine. So understanding where the trends are going in technology, jobs will be affected. You know, they're going to change and some will leave. But what I say, and this is the last point I'll make, Gen AI or AI itself doesn't replace the human interaction. It gets you to the human interaction faster and with more actionable data. And if you think it through that lens, it sort of puts some tailwinds behind your journey to learn more about.
I agree. And it's what I always tell people when they ask me about it, Larry, is like AI cannot actually create anything, but it can get through data so much more quickly than we can, right? And point out things that we may not have been able to spot on our own. All right, so now this is where that vendor movement, that dynamic piece that I was talking about, is really creating some confusion. As of last year, when Employee Navigator acquired Ease, we virtually had no competition in the lower end of the market. So for employers that have, 125 or fewer employees, they really don't have a lot of place to go, right? There's nothing. So the clients and brokers are just like, they're like, what am I going to do? And there's no documented plan for this transition. It was supposed to be at the end of this plan year. Now it's going to be the end of 2026, but there's still no documentation for that migration. So what do? A lot of people are being proactive and trying to figure out, what does that mean? Who else is out there serving that market? Our team spends a lot of time talking about that, not only with our producers and account managers, but with their clients. The mid-size market, also some shifting there. A lot of them are moving up market. Plan Source, for example, moving up market. Some are moving down market. And a lot of the availability for both the small employers and the mid-market employers are through resellers. If you're not familiar with resellers, this could be a viable option for you, regardless of what size you are. Resellers they've got some advantages. They can offer different services, different solutions and an added service level, because they're not having to do the research and development of the marketing that they would have to. And they do sell Plan Source. They do sell Employee Navigator, and they do sell bSwift. They do sell Celerix. There's a lot of different options. So resellers might be worthy of your consideration. Leah, what are you seeing with your clients?
I'm seeing a combination of all of this. And what I wanted to tell you is to add to this. I know everybody is an example of a reseller. So Paul is asking about an example of a reseller. Do you want to say a reseller, Holly?
Well, who some of the resellers are? Is that what
Yeah.
Paul's asking?
Yeah,
Because
an example.
okay, so there's a number of resellers out there. There's regional resellers. There's some that are more national. I mean, gosh, I can think of tons of resellers. In fact,
Yeah,
I might know
Maybe-
someone.
So resellers, without really even naming like the company,
what does a
I
reseller
guess,
do?
what is a reseller? That is,
Yeah.
so I'll give you an example. If I wanted to offer Employee Navigator as a benefits admin solution, I would be considered a reseller. So that's an example of a reseller. It's somebody who's selling a technology like Paylocity, for example, that doesn't necessarily work for it's not Paylocity. So there's a lot of companies out there who will resell a system called bSwift, which is a benefits administration system. It's one of the more robust solutions out there. Tons of companies that are offering, hey, we'll do your benefits administration for you. We're a human capital human capital organization. And one of the things that we do is benefits admin, and we do it in, they may even say be Swift, and sometimes they don't say be Swift. So they're white labeling. So that's an example of a reseller. I hope, Paul, that answers your question.
Yeah. So, Paul, resellers come in a lot of different flavors, as Leah alluded to. And we can go to the next slide, Ani, because I'm going to talk about resellers specifically on that one. So in all those market segments, the small, medium, and large, there are resellers. So the resellers do not necessarily rebrand it. So there's some that white label, as what Leah was describing. So a lot of the HCM, human capital management, providers will embed be Swift, typically is one. So Paylocity that she mentioned, Proliant is another one. They would Paycor, they use be Swift, right, as their bin admin. Now sometimes that changes, sometimes they have their own flavor too, and that's an option. So there's lots of different ways that you would see a bin admin technology, which is really great technology available in the human capital management market. A reseller would be the same technology platform, the employee navigator, the plan source, the be Swift, and we'll just leave those three just for the sake of conversation. There can be others that a group of people, a company will resell, and this happens on the human capital side too. There are like iSalt has a whole channel of resellers, right? They have a whole business unit, but that's another story. They will sell this, and the reason the resellers exist is they don't invest in the development. They're not doing the R&D. They're not marketing that, but they are marketing their service. They are devoted to the service side of it, and it's almost like the generic versus the brand pharmaceutical. And I try to explain it that way. They don't have to invest in it, right? They don't have to market it, but later on they can resell it. So they're doing the reselling. They spend all their time focused on the client service aspect of it, but they are very good at what they do. They're very good at the configuration. They're very good at providing, answering those phone calls, doing those things. They know their marketplace. Some are very large and they cover a big span. They're national. Some are very regional. So if you are interested in that, I suggest you get you with your trusted advisor, whether that's Leah, or if you are working with if you were working with me, I could put you in touch with resellers that might fit your needs.
Yeah,
Getting back to can we go back just a second?
I was just going to answer Paul's, just add to what you were just saying, Holly, the benefit, another benefit of that would be a reseller has more of a white glove kind of service, right? Mm-hmm. And they typically understand, they're going in it, truly understanding the benefits admin processes, and they have the deep expertise versus they're not just providing the technical piece. So that would be another benefit.
Yeah, the benefits, there's the service, there's cost. So cost, they're selling, if you think about the way we used to buy software years and years ago, seats, if you will, they're doing so much of this that sometimes they can actually sell it to you for less than you could do it yourself. And they have access to it. So for example, if you are a 300 person, 300 employee organization, you can't get be Swift Direct, right? They don't have, that's not their market. They don't have the bandwidth to support you. But through a reseller, you could have be Swift. So it's access, it's service, it's cost, and oftentimes the implementation timeline is shorter because that's what they do all day long, and they have the bandwidth to do it. Whereas you as a 300 person, even if you were able to get be Swift Direct, you would be in a very, very long queue for implementation. So those are the reasons you might look at a reseller, if that helps. If we could go back just one moment, Ani, there was one other point on that other slide. Some of the direct solutions the direct sellers are coming down market via acquisition. So they're acquiring other solutions so that they can cover that down market. For example, Business Solver purchased Workterra so they could cover the down market. WEX purchased Benefits Connect so they could cover the lower end, the more mid-market. So that was another area of movement within the vendor market that can cause some confusion. All right, thank you. We can move on. Were there any other questions that came up, Leah?
There is a question from Lori that I was just typing. So she said, is there a comparison between Employee Navigator and ADP Workforce Now? And I would say that those are completely different systems. You can't really compare them. Employee Navigator is only mainly a benefits administration tool, and it's meant for smaller employers. So it has a little bit of an onboarding. It's not very robust. So versus ADP is a full HCM. They have payroll, applicant tracking, onboarding, offboarding. So those are completely different, and it's for you could have it as a small employer, but ADP goes all the way to very large employers. So two completely different systems. So it just depends, Lori, on, are you just looking for a benefits admin solution? How robust do you want it? So yeah, those are the differences. I don't know if you, Holly, would offer anything else.
Yeah, and plus, yes, absolutely. ADP is, is HCM, Human Capital Management, and then Employee Navigator is a small scale, and I don't mean that in a negative way. They're just a limited benefits administration solution. They are totally focused on that, and they do offer ACA, and that's pretty much it. Now, I've seen it go up. I've seen companies with 4,000 employees on Employee Navigator, but they had limited complexity. So that's it. All right.
So benefits administration vendors. So how do you even, Holly talked a little bit about the trends, what is happening right now, the differences. So then now you're ready to start looking for a system. What does this look like? So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the differences so that you guys understand when you start this process. And Lori, you just asked the question, like, what's the difference between these systems? So I would say a system like Employee Navigator is the simple solution. These are systems where, although it is a very, again, I don't want to say simple as in it's not a good system. It's actually a very good benefits admin system. I recommend it for small employers. It has everything you need if all you're looking for is benefits administration. It's quick. You can implement it within a few weeks. It has, it will capture your enrollment. It has great reporting and tracking. So that's one bucket. Then the middle bucket, this is the HCM full suite systems like ADP. So ADP is considered a full human capital management solution. It has, onboarding, payroll, time tracking, offboarding, all the modules. So these systems will have an employee benefits admin solution in it. It'll have your plan comparisons, but it's not as robust, right? And then you move from that bucket, then you go to the robust solution, the more complex benefits admin systems. These systems will have your decision support. And for those who don't know that terminology, decision support it's a questionnaire in a system that it's essentially employees will answer things like, okay, can you afford a $10,000 emergency visit? Do you have any plans to go to see a physician this year, surgery, whatever? And then as you're answering all these questions, it will guide you to the right plan. So much more robust than just a plan comparison. And then it would have things like your wellness credits, your defined contributions, which is like a bucket of money that employees get from certain employers where they can allocate them. So these are much more robust systems that can support all of that. So 3 buckets, and that's what you start with. Okay, so then the next slide is, so you kind of know now where you're starting from. So what does this planning look like? How do you even plan? And what I tell my clients and anyone who'd ask me is start with very simply write down what you need. So what do you have today? What don't you have today? Where do you want to go in the future? What are your requirements? It's really just that simple, because you don't want to start this the opposite way where I see companies or employers failing, is starting the other way where they're just kind of, oh, show me what you have and then we'll go from there. No, you want to know what you need first and then start figuring out what solution you want from there. And I think, Larry, you may have something to add here.
Yeah. So it's very easy for HR folks to think about their requirements for them. What's going to make my job easier? But I want to introduce the concept of human centricity, which is everything you do is through the eyes of the employee. If you want, that's the secret sauce to getting to a great employee experience. Reducing friction, reducing double work, making the tool easy on the back end, but hard on the front end. You'd never get to a great employee experience like that. So one of your self-assessments should be, and we'll get a little deeper in a couple of slides, of how is this going to affect the employee? What's the benefit to the employee to use this tool? That should always be on any self-assessment. Back to you, Leah.
Great point. So next slide. So on this topic, what is the one feature you wish your current benefits admin system had? So we're going to do a little, another questionnaire. If you just scan, you can just scan this or go to slido.com and tell us, what's the one feature you wish your current benefits admin system had? I'm curious to see what you guys come up with.
Don't be shy.
Come on, people. An easy button.
An easy button. I love it.
Wellness. It's a good one. The QLE experience. So whoever wrote that, there must be some manual things happening on QLEs. It's like the worst. I love the data analytics. 401k strategy. Wow, that's very futuristic there. Advisor access for 401k strategy. What would that look like? Larry and Holly would do it. Advisor access. I don't even know what.
Yeah, because typically I find that the 401k advisors are pretty, well, the 401k providers are very standoffish. A lot of times it's an SSO. Some of them are a little better, but they really don't want to mix things up too much. So that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, but that's great that we're thinking that. So it looks like wellness.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you guys for that. Now I have one to think about. So what does a good benefits admin system look like? Okay, so you want to think people, process, technology always. You want to streamline your processes. You want employee engagement, and then your technology tool. You want it to achieve what it is that you're looking for. That's why you have technology. So, for example, analytics and reporting, and I think somebody wrote that as a feature. So we talked a little bit about decision support. If you get a standalone system, you want to make sure that it will integrate with whatever other system that you have internally, right? Your payroll system for one. Employee self-service, of course. ACA management is key. I mean, if you can't manage your ACA and your benefits admin system, it just creates more complexities using another system to do that. So I would highly recommend that it has that, and most good benefits admin systems will. Obviously, you want to automate the enrollment, and then it will centralize your data. So it's that simple. So then now you know what a good benefits admin system should have. Once you start with this purchasing process, right? Think about the reason why you're looking for a new solution is because whatever you have going on right now, it's not working, right? So you're transforming. You are transforming. So what does that mean? Don't try to fit your current existing processes. Prepare your mind, because the more prepared you are, the better this transformation is going to work. And preparing your mind means whatever you're doing today is going to change. So where I've seen failure happen is when, you're in the middle of an implementation and, clients are saying, our process is like this today, but then the implementation expert is saying, yeah, but the system does this, right? So there's there's a gap there. So you're transforming, so you need to prepare your mind and not expect perfection. And Larry, I heard you speak once at an HR Tech conference, and you said that if you're expecting perfection in a transformation, you are doomed. And I loved that because that is so true. I think as consultants, we can prepare our clients, right? But if you're not dealing with a consultant, this is the one advice I would give you is you're changing what you're doing and get your mindset right.
Yep.
And
So
Larry, I think.
the definition of transformation is changing behaviors over the long term. That's different than change management, right? So if you're changing behaviors over the long term, you are making people uncomfortable. So I've always said at the start of transformation, and again, we're going to break some glass, right? You're cleaning your house and you knock over a plate, you break some glass. If you're worried about breaking that glass, you're going to go slow, and being slow in a transformation is death. It's you'll never get to the finish line. So this little picture on the right-hand side is very true. And I
Don't
know,
be afraid. Don't get scared.
I know total rewards folks and benefit folks have a lot of what's the right word? Are not as risk tolerant because you're dealing with people's personal stuff, right? So you have to balance safety of data to the reality of bringing in something new and changing the way people do it. You can't be all the time on safety.
So it's a reality check, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Back to you, Leah.
Yeah, okay. And then the final thing to add here is you see the cool interface. We talked earlier about writing down your requirements. So if you go to these systems website and they look really cool, that is not, don't let that sway you, right? The more a system has and all the offerings that they have doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. So that's the last thing to add there. Okay, so what do you consider as you're going through this process? You want to think about your team, right? This is another key thing that gets missed in the process. You have your benefits team. Obviously, we're talking about benefits administration, so your main team will be the benefits team. But is your benefits team also technology people? Are they, have they ever gone through a transformation before, a full go live process? We talked earlier about the experience, the 54%, with less than having only 2 to 3 years experience. So think about that. And also the team size. You want your entire team involved in this. And I think, Larry, you say this best.
Well, we were looking at, I brought in 5 different systems in 3 years, 8 different systems in 3 years in my last company. And the way that we were able to do that so quickly was we did an HR tech parade, I called it. where we looked at 16 vendors in a row. They're going by like a parade. But the team also included an employee and a manager and someone from finance and all the people that you want to get on your side early to help you make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
I also had a business advisory group, which was 10 or 12 VPs who I say are seasoned, credible, and doubtful. Those are who you want on that. So then when you go to get your budget or you go to say, this is the tool we want, you said all these people were on the team and all these VPs approved it. So you are ahead of the game when you go for budget or talk to your upper people who have to approve these things. So, and that's how you get to employee experience, because you're having people who are going to be receiving this tool commenting on what they like and don't like about the different demos that you're looking at. So I highly advise throwing a parade.
Love that. Very true. Okay. So you're ready to purchase, you're talking to some people, or they just call you, right? Vendors will call and they're, selling their product. So as an employer and as a buyer, what should you be looking for? You want to look at the culture. The way you know about a vendor's culture is simply your interaction with them, right? You're going to start understanding what's important to them. Is that important to you? You want those to be aligned. Industry reputation is a simple research. How responsive are they to you during the sales process? You would be surprised with with that as well. So that will let you know what's to come. So that those three things is what I would recommend you look at. What else is important during the sales process? I think this may be a question for you guys.
Yeah. What do you think is important when you're looking, when you have a sales process? What do you find important?
Tell us give us your, I'm curious. Did we capture everything or would you add something else to that?
Like that product roadmap for sure.
Definitely cost. Peer. Whoever wrote peer, what does that mean exactly? Client references is a good one.
Maybe peer means benchmarking as well.
Mm.
Like what are the company's peer or other peers that I know that I could talk to them, or peers of the company that's selling to me?
These are great.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Okay, there we go. That was Rick. Peer was a part of the sentence that included benchmarking, client references. All right, these are great. Thank you. You guys are great buyers. Okay. Culture. Why does it matter? You want a vendor who will be who will bend for you. And bending doesn't mean just doing whatever you want, but can they be accommodating, right? Will they listen to your needs? Are they holistic? That's why culture matters. So next slide, please. The other thing is you obviously want to look at a system demo, and I'm going to stress here that don't feel afraid to ask questions. The demo is your first entry into even understanding what the vendor is, what their system looks like. So ask questions, make sure the demo is not just an hour. We schedule at least 2-hour demos. I mean, we're asking questions, detailed questions, functional questions. just because the UI looks good, that doesn't mean anything. All this flashy, I tell my clients, don't even look at the user interface. It doesn't mean anything. Okay. We talked about preparing earlier. So you wrote down the questions. What are your requirements? Those are the questions that you should be asking during demos. Ask about what you don't have today. So this, this what you're looking at is, it looks very boring, is not interesting, right? But this is you going through a demo and they're showing you the features that you really want to see, right? So the reason why you prepare is so that, I know for me, if I saw something that is so flashy and it looks so good, you're not asking the right questions, right? You just want to see what they have and then you're sold. But that's dangerous. And Larry, I'm sure you can add.
Yeah, just to add on to the tech parade, we got together as a team before the demos and put a scorecard together of what do we need and how important it was. And then we had a debate, do we want to share that with the vendors before they did the demo? We decided we would share it with them, because then that focuses their demo to what you want. It's not only what they'll want to present other things, but at least they know it's important to you and you'll get to the stuff you want, and then they can show you other things. And then we all know what we were looking for, and that avoids you getting sort of mesmerized by a slick demo. Right? A slick demo could make you feel like, oh, that's so cool, that shiny thing. That's why having a scorecard agreed upon that you judge everyone the same way really gets you to decisions faster.
Another thing I like about the scorecard, Larry, and we do help our clients with that too. We have a prepared agenda that all the vendors know, but the scorecard really helps keeps the emotion out of it, right? So if you fall in love with that, with a certain sales team, person, UI, whatever it is, user interface, the scorecard helps keep things even, and it can be weighted, right? Some of them can be weighted. Like this is really the most important thing that we have to have.
Yes.
So it has more of a value. But what you saw last Tuesday and what you saw this Wednesday, and when you all get back together on Friday and you can't really remember, hey, was that bin A or bin B or bin C? And you can't always remember because they do sort of start looking alike, right?
They do.
How many times can I see dependent eligibility and it looked cool? Not that many times, trust me.
Yeah.
So those are the things. So having a scorecard is really valuable.
Yes. Agreed. So there's some really good questions and comments. Lisa, Lisa knows. She says, not just a demo, but access to training environment before making final decisions.
Like that.
During the demo, if there are must-have features, make sure the demo has specific feature or requirements versus just being told yes. That is so true.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to see it. You don't want to just hear yes. Like you literally want to be walked through the screen and see these things. They have demo environments out there where you as the client should even have access. I mean, some vendors will give you access to their demo environments where you're actually going in and testing the solution.
In a sandbox environment or even a guided demo experience where you can say, I'd like to do this. And then that they have a solutions architect or solutions consultant, whatever they call that role, let you play, right? They let you click and see it and feel it so you can experience it before you can try before you buy.
Exactly. And then Rick had a question about what's a typical length of contract with a vendor? So I'm thinking that you mean like how long is the contract essentially? So some vendors have a month-to-month contract, if you can believe that. And that's, to me, refreshing. I mean,
yeah, I would say industry standard is typically 3 years, Rick. And the reason is most vendors, especially when you're looking at the bin admin vendors, some will go, especially now resellers will go month to month a lot of times, but most of them will want at least a year. But standard industry right now is 3 years. And the reason for that is most vendors do not make money the first year. They don't. There's a lot that goes into the cost of sales and the implementation. They begin to make money somewhere, they get some return on their investment during year 2. So year 3 is when their profit starts. So most of them want a 3-year commitment from you, but there's a lot of great negotiation points in that. You can lock down your price. You can agree that we will only have an increase of this X in year 2 or year 3, or some of them will actually agree to a cost freeze during that entire term. So, but most of the time it's a 3-year is what we see. Larry, you look like you have some comments.
No, I was saying the same thing. Is what I try to do is say, if you want to do it for 3 years, I need a break on year 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you want a longer contract, then I want a different price model than you're giving me. So I try to use the longer the contract to give me price breaks.
Mm-hmm.
That's one negotiation tool.
Yep.
Or say, hey, I only want it for 2 years. I will only be on the hook for 2 years with you guys. So then they have a little bit more leverage to say, okay, here's the pricing.
Yep.
So that's 2 ways you can look at it.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways you can do it, but 3 is pretty standard.
Yep.
All right.
All right. So best practices.
And we're going to go through this quickly.
Yeah, we have about 12 minutes. Okay. What consultants look for? Okay, as consultants, what are we looking for our clients? We've kind of talked through this. So definitely industry. So we have this experience already because our clients are going through this. We've actually worked with these vendors. We've worked in these systems. So we know the reputation. We know how the easiness of working with the vendors. We know their technology capabilities, customer service, which is another key thing that, you know, you can research this, but it also helps to really have worked with these vendors. Next slide, please. The other thing to look for is fees. We heard cost is important. And what do fees look like? So there's the actual system cost. This is your annual ongoing system fee. You have a cost at implementation. Some vendors may give you that for free. Others will charge an implementation fee. Then you have your ongoing maintenance fees. So some vendors will charge a fee for a new release. Open enrollment costs are also I would say probably half and half, or most vendors are charging just to configure your open enrollment. So you want to know what those costs are. And then your team. Are you working with an internal team, or are you having to hire consultants to do the configuration or the maintenance for you? So that's kind of how you look at fees: team, ongoing maintenance costs, and the system cost. Next slide, please. So how do you succeed in this process? You want to change your mindset. We talked a little bit about that. Don't expect perfection. Be open to change. The end user, involve the end user in Larry talked about that in the beginning. The end user is your benefits team. That's your HRBP team. That is your HRIT. If these people are not involved in the beginning, they're not going to help with the change. Remember, we need change agents. So if you involve them, they are invested and they're going to help with getting everybody come on board. Next slide, please.
All right. So Leah referenced this earlier, writing things down. You want to map out this entire process from the very beginning. You're going to identify and document all of your pain points, because that is how you identify where your needs are. And part of that change process is creating that workflow of your current processes, because this is going to allow you to see where your gaps are, and you're going to know where you can change, because this is an opportunity to take advantage of that parade that Larry referenced and see what some best practices are. What are other companies like you doing? And how can the vendors that you're looking at coach you as you learn and evolve through this? We talked about the process, about including some soft dollars, right, in your cost, and make sure that you have the budget to align with what you need. Maybe you're going to do an RFI and get this together in 1 year, because it may not work into your fiscal budget this year. This may be a next year project, right? So look at your needs. Once you've done that, is it that simple enrollment tool that we talked about, or do you really need that more complex Ben admin tool? This is how you're going to decide that. And what can your company afford? Will you need to outsource some of those services with some HR managed partners, with someone to configure it? Or do you have what it takes internally? The timeline, this is a big factor in what's going to happen. This is based on projects that we had last year, and most of the clients were certainly under 1,000. This is probably, I would say, around, most clients in this survey were around 100 to probably 750. And it takes a good long time. Most of it's scheduling. The more people involved, the longer it takes to schedule. The discovery process is just getting everything involved, 1 or 2 weeks. Those initial demos, 3 to 4 weeks. And again, I typically, depending on what it is, 3, maybe 4 vendors is all we need to look at. But now you're doing a lot of systems like Larry was, you're going to have a lot more to look at. Finalist meetings, again, you're going to narrow it down to like 2 finalists. So again, getting that scheduled, those are longer, 2 to 4 weeks, and then contract negotiations. Depending on if you have in-house counsel or your counsel's external, that again can take a long time. And some of those attorneys, let's face it, they can be pretty picky. So that can go a long time too. And then the implementation, depending on the size and complexity of your organization and what you're doing, it's going to take 90 days to 120 days to implement that. That's on average. Now, if you're above 1,000 employees and 1,000 Ben eligibles, that's going to take longer. Okay. And this does not include the carrier connections in most cases. So long time, a lot of variables. Quickly, we've got a couple of case studies. I'm not going to go over all of them. Let's go to the next one because you'll get a copy of this in the interest of time. This is a not-for-profit that we're all familiar with. This is one of the Goodwill organizations. And because of their unique needs and their of their workplace, we're all familiar. They do a great job serving a different population than most organizations have. So they have lots of different people in the executive and the management, and lots of different people at the store levels and distribution levels. And because of their unique needs, they really had outgrown their HCM vendor module, the benefit administration, and they really needed something with more complexity. They had an in-house call center answering all the questions about plans and all that stuff. So you can imagine the expense that was for a not-for-profit. So they went through a full-blown benefits administration evaluation and decided to go with a reseller. I know we addressed that earlier, and here were the reasons they chose to go with a reseller. 1, they got that white glove service we talked about. 2, they were able to take advantage of that enterprise level that we talked about. This was a reseller of bswift. They also looked at a reseller of, and other resellers of some enterprise level benefits administration software that they normally would not have had access to. But they had access to the enterprise level. They got excellent service, and they were able to take that call center dollars, reallocate it, and put it toward that service. So they got everything they wanted, and they saved the money that they had been spending elsewhere. So it was a great win all around for the organization. And they were able to close down their internal call center as a result. So big win all around by doing the things that we talked about, by mapping out everything and getting buy-in all around from every organization part of the organization. So thank you so much for all your participation and great questions. And is anything else come up, Leah?
Nothing else. I am just thanking everybody for coming. Please follow Larry on LinkedIn. And I'm going to add your LinkedIn profile on the chat as well, if I can.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.
That's Holly's LinkedIn. Please follow Holly.
Thank you.
Holly posts a lot of educational and happenings items on LinkedIn. So please follow her as well. Thank
Thanks.
you all. This has been great. Thank you for commenting on the chat and being an active participant. Your questions were great. This was great. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
So this last slide is just our upcoming sessions that we have. We're going to talk about implementing a system successfully in August. So join us if you're able to.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Pam, for coming. Hi. Great. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
See you
Thanks for
next
inviting me.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Bye.